Today we're going to be talking about how to start a bullet journal. So if you've never bullet journaled before, or if you're a little bit nervous to start the process or don't really know where to begin, or the whole concept to you is just foreign, this is the video that you want to watch. We're going to walk you through everything from what you'll need to what it is and its purpose and what kinds of spreads you can do, words you need to know, and things you should know as a beginner. So basically everything you need to know is in this video. So let's just jump right in. So jumping right in, what is bullet journaling exactly and what is it useful for? There's a quote we love about bullet journaling. Writer Carol said, "Track the past, order the present, and design the future." So essentially, bullet journaling is where you can have all of your ideas, lists, schedules, and anything else in one journal and in one place that is best for your lifestyle. And what we're going to be going over in this video today will be key terms, supplies of what you'll need, a table of contents, a title page, monthly trackers, weekly trackers, collections, and things you should know as a beginner. Alright, so jumping right in, the first thing we're going to talk about is key terms that you should know as a beginner. So the first term I want to talk about is migration, and this has a little bit of a different connotation in the bullet journaling world than it does in normal life. But basically, migration is when you have some sort of task or to-do that never got done or checked off. You want to migrate that to where you are currently in your bullet journal. So I usually do this once a week or sometimes once a month. Kind of go through everything and make sure that nothing got left behind, and if something did get left behind, I will just migrate that to where I am currently. The second term I want to talk about is a spread, and if you've ever watched any sort of bullet journaling video on YouTube or heard somebody say this, that's because it's a very commonly used term, and it's basically the way that you choose to lay out your bullet journal. So one person's spread looks completely different from another person's, and this includes everything that you put down in your bullet journal, from the title page, the monthly, the weekly, all of that. It's all part of your spread, if that makes sense. And there are lots of different kinds of spreads. One of them is a tracker, and basically a tracker is anything in your life that you want to essentially track or get better at or better yourself in. So if you want to be better at budgeting, you would keep a budgeting tracker. If you wanted to get more sleep, you could keep a sleep log, and I will go more into depth about that later. Another kind of spread is a monthly spread. This is pretty pertinent to bullet journaling, and it's basically a calendar view of the month, so nothing crazy, but there are lots of fun ways you can set that up. Another one that I love, it's actually one of my favorite spreads to do, is a weekly spread. I feel like this is the most helpful for me personally, and where I spend most of my time in my bullet journal, because I write lots of notes, lots of to-dos that I have for the week, and they are really fun to get creative with. And I'll be showing an example of that as well. Under that we have collections, and a collection is basically any kind of spread page that is not some sort of calendar or time tracker. So if that makes sense, it's anything that's not a monthly, weekly, daily, etc. So that could mean any kind of mood tracker, budgeting tracker, sleep log, quote page, anything fun like that is in a collection. Now moving on to the next page, we're going to be talking about a table of contents. I personally don't use a table of contents because I feel like it's more trouble than it's worth for me, but that's just me personally. I know that many people who do a bullet journal love to keep a table of contents, and it helps them keep their lives really in check and keeps everything, it's easy to see where everything is. So everything is just right there and it's easy to find and very accessible. So it is very helpful if you feel like that's something you're actually going to use. So essentially, if there's anything that you need to write down, like important dates or birthdays or anything of that nature, you would include that in your table of contents and just write what page it was on, and then you could go back to that later and you would know right where to flip to. So including a little example here, I'm numbering some pages, and then I will put page 1 up here in the top right corner, and then I will write table of contents. So it's pretty self-explanatory, but if you are the kind of person who likes to write down everything for reference, then it's really easy if you can just put a little book dart there or dog-ear the page and always be able to come back to it at the beginning of your bullet journal. So now moving on to our actual spreads, I am starting a title page, Normally my title pages are for different months, so it would say the name of the month, but I wanted this to be kind of a more all-encompassing title page, so I just did a 2020 title page. So I just used my pen for that, added some metallic gold details to that, and then outlined the word 20 with my dual brush pen in a really light blue shade. So I'm just keeping it pretty simple, and as you can see, I'm using a stencil here. If you're not the most artistically inclined person, it's really easy and it's a really fun way to add personality to your bullet journal if you feel a little bit intimidated by drawing things. And then here on the left, the reason that I like to keep my title pages just to one page instead of both pages is because I love to letter quotes on the other side of the page. So if it's a monthly spread, I will find a quote that goes well with the month or a quote that's been inspiring me lately. But I just found a fun quote about the new year, and I'm just putting that here on the left so that I can see that throughout the month or the year or whatever. And it's a fun opportunity to kind of practice my lettering because I don't get to do that quite as much with bullet journaling. So I have that there on the left. And then moving on, I'm doing my monthly spread. And like I said, this is essentially a calendar view of your month. I didn't show this, but basically I measured out the 2 pages so that it would be a calendar view, just counted all of the spaces in the dot grid and divided that by 7 and then 4 weeks. So I have the whole month right here, and then I added a miscellaneous spot here on the right. So if I have any miscellaneous information I need to add, like important dates or things to remember to do, I can add those there. And then the space here on the bottom is to use up for notes and things that I need to remember that I don't have enough room for in those squares up there. So I'm going through and numbering these with all the dates. And then once I'm done with that, I am just gonna add a little bit of personality to the page with some drop shadows and highlighting kind of the lines of the page to make the calendar jump off the page a little bit more, which you will see me do in a second. And this is a really easy and fun way to give your bullet journal a bit of an edge if you don't feel like you know what to do or you're feeling kind of stuck or in a creative rut. This is a really fun way to kind of just elevate your bullet journaling spreads in a really easy way. And I always feel like it makes it look so much better when I add a little bit of drop shadowing or a little bit of color. And then lastly, I'm just gonna highlight the dates in a really light purple shade to give a little bit more body to the page. And that's really all I'm gonna do. I'm just keeping it really simple for you guys, just to show that you don't have to put any kind of crazy drawings on every single bullet journaling page, and it can be really pretty if it's just simple as well. Moving on to the next page, I have my weekly spread, and I'm just splitting up the page into 7 different dates with their own respective rectangles. And you can see I split this last one in the bottom right corner into 2, and that's just because that's for my Saturday and Sunday. I don't really have as much going on Saturdays and Sundays, so I kind of just split that into 2, and I usually have more than enough room. But if you want to keep them separate, you can always just do 4 rectangles instead of 7 instead of 6. And then I'm just going through and adding the little boxes here on the left. That's where I'll put the day of the week and the dates. And again, this is gonna be a really simple, easy weekly spread. You can get as creative as you want as you kind of learn more, but this is just a really easy spread for beginners and a really easy template to follow. And I find myself going back to this template a lot of the time and then just adding colors or doodles around the corners and edges that are more seasonal as a way to kind of personalize it. So again, I'm going in and I'm just adding some drop shadows with my lavender brush pen on the date boxes here on the left. And then I'm going to outline the title up here as well to give it a little bit more flair, which is a really fun and easy way to tie that color in. And then at the bottom, I'm gonna use some purple washi tape, which you will see as I go back and do the flip through. And I'm just doing 1 strip of washi tape across both pages at the bottom right here. So now we're moving on to our collections. I wanted to show 2 different examples of collections. I have a habit tracker here on the left, and then I'm going to be showing you a mood tracker on the right. And that's because I wanted to show that there are different ways that you can bullet journal if you are more artistically inclined or less, or you can figure out what kind of collections or trackers appeal to you the most in terms of how they're set up, all that good stuff. So a habit tracker here on the left is essentially a way to track all of the habits you want to get better at. So I have things like getting 8 hours of sleep, doing an hour of reading a day, drinking enough water, all that good stuff. So I'm doing 30 little circles for each different habit that I want to track, so I can do 1 circle per day. And if I completed that task or was successful in that habit, then I will go in and fill in the circle for that day. And then you can kind of come back at the end of the month and see how successful you were in each of those habits by looking at how much color is on the page, which is kind of a fun way to track habits and kind of try to improve yourself. And again, this is a really simple spread. I'm just adding some color over the title and the different habits. And that's really all I'm gonna do for that one. So that is a really simple, easy tracker to do. And then on the right here, I spared you watching the creation of this whole little flower doodle, and I did have it traced before. But essentially a mood tracker is some sort of drawing or tracker. You can do it not in one drawing like this. You can do 31 different leaves or 31 different stars or whatever you want, but basically you number them 1 through 30, 1 through 31, however many days are in that month. And then each day, at the end of the day, you go in and fill in the respective date with whatever color you felt the most like. So I am gonna make the key up in the right, but one color will represent happy, one color will represent sad. You can make it as in-depth or as simple as you want, but I'm just gonna add 3 different colors and 3 different emotions for this mood tracker to keep it simple. So I'm just doing a light pink, a lavender, and then a brighter orange. So there's my key there on the right. I'm just boxing that off. And then I would go through each day at the end of the day and fill in what was most accurate to how my day went and how I was feeling. And this is fun because at the end of the month you get to see which color was predominantly used in the picture and how you felt overall. And now the last thing we have to talk about is things to know as a beginner. The first is to not overdo it, and that basically just means don't put too much pressure on yourself that you feel like you need to add so many tiny details to your bullet journal. Just figure out what style works best for you first. The second is to give it time. As you can see here on the right, I still need to make little scribbles to test out my pens, and I need to use whiteout when I do little mess ups and things like that. But just be patient with yourself because everything takes practice. The third tip and thing you should know is to not compare, because you can watch so many different videos of people who are extremely talented in a different way than you might be. I'm not the most artistic person, so I think it's important to remember your strengths and what works best for you while you bullet journal. The fourth thing that you should know is to experiment and practice. The more you practice, the more you'll find out what your style is, and I feel like that's really the most helpful thing for you personally, is once you figure out what kind of style is the best for you when you are bullet journaling. The fifth tip that I have is to just remember to have things be done, not perfect. So you can see I have lots of little scribbles and mess ups, like I said. The point of a bullet journal isn't really how it looks, but just how it works for your life personally. And that's really the important part at the end of the day. And the last tip we have is just to have fun. And remember that bullet journaling is a creative process and it can be extremely beneficial. And it's really fun to kind of personalize it and show your personality with a bullet journal. So just keep in mind that that is supposed to be a fun thing, and that should help you a lot in your process. Thank you guys so much for watching. We really hope you found this video helpful and enjoyed it. And let us know if there are any other video ideas you have that you would like to see us make. So make sure to leave that down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, and we will see you next time.